With AI advancement, we've had the opportunity on a consumer level to test, play with, and educate from deep learning algorithms such as Chatgpt, Bard, GitHub, and more. The more we learn, the more we come to fear the possibilities, the singularity, the moment when humanity fails to recognize the consequences of its actions and succumbs to its own creation. But I've had a burning question, something that can only be answered with the assistance of artificial intelligence. Can Chatgpt make a better commander deck than me? What the? What better way to celebrate the launch of a series than with a classic favorite, MULDROTHA? I gave Chatgpt the task of making a 100-card singleton commander deck for MULDROTHA the Gravetide. At first, I was unsure if it would output anything at all, but after a little persuasion, we received a legal 100-card commander deck. What's more, I didn't give any budgetary restriction, so this new AI-formulated deck is running plenty of heavy-hitting cards and is not skimped out on the mana base. We have every relevant fetch land, all of our shock lands, nothing but the best black tutors, Cyclonic Rift, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Sylvan Library, Rhystic Study, Necropotence, the list goes on. This is certainly not a budget-friendly deck. But is it any good? Are the big components adding up to anything impactful? I think the short answer is yes. If you pulled this list and played it just as is, you would have some consistent games. After all, there are more than enough lands, 10 ramp sources, 12 pieces of card draw, and a semblance of balance between our permanent types. But it's all not gravestones and hearse. We're missing some key cards for this heavily integrated graveyard strategy. Cards such as Altar of Dementia, Kaya's Ghost Form, Seal of Primordium, Lotus Petal, and our other altars, etc. I mean, the list goes on. You can quickly see that there wasn't as much thought given for combos. It was much more just put in all the good stuff just to make the deck function. I normally wouldn't have a problem with this, but unfortunately our AI friend has put our current deck price somewhere around $750. We don't need to spend that much to have good games. What's more, we have some immediate non-bows despite the price. For example, we're running a Wayfarer's Bauble, but with no basic lands. And despite no basic lands, we have our Hermit Druid, but no Thassa's Oracle. And although not a non-bow, I do think running Krosan Grip over Seal of Primordium just doesn't feel right. The same goes for running Field of Dead, but without a good way to go get it. Yes, you can use a black tutor, but that feels so bad when you could otherwise just use a ramp spell like Crop Rotation, or in this deck, an even better Expedition map. What's more, normally the importance of our black tutors is to go get our combo pieces, like the Hermit Druid and the Oracle. This deck, on the other hand, that we've been supplied doesn't have that element. So running these tutors effectively is driving up the price without actually having any significant payoff. So this is an easy cut. And with all this in mind, let's see if I can outdo Chatgpt, making a much cheaper, but also a more effective version for you to play at home. I can't think of any better place to start than the mana base. I love fetches, but they can be crazy expensive, at least some of them are. And I can make an argument to leave maybe 2 to 3 in place, but for all of them, I can't leave all of them in good conscience. So what's the replacement? Easy. Basic lands. Any lands matter deck will need them, so I want to fit in 3 basics and then 3 basic snow-covered versions in order to still reliably proc our Field of the Dead. This means that we still need to cut 2 additional lands, which, well, how about Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth and Cabal Coffers? We are running 3 colors here, and although the mana acceleration is nice, these 6 cards being cut just saved us over $175, and I doubt that you'll really notice that they're gone. Finally, just a few good additions. Why not add a Zagoth Triome and a Forbidden Orchard? And after a little more cleanup and optimization, we're good to go. Our mana base is all set. Next, let's take a look at the artifacts. I think our ramp package is already decent, but I try to avoid using signets if I can. They can quickly become unreliable, and I haven't had a single situation where a talisman has caused me to lose. What's more, although we're in 3 colors, we don't really need the mana fixing of Chromatic Lantern, so let's just swap in an Arcane Signet. And although I love the idea of Navinral's Disc, I think it's just too unreliable, and it simply doesn't fit my playstyle. So let's go with the aforementioned Lotus Petal in this slot. There are a few more other artifacts that I wanted to include, but for this we'll need to make some additional cuts. The Planeswalkers included in the AI version are just not that big of a threat and really sort of just detract from our own deck synergies. I'd much rather include cards like Altar of Dementia, Expedition Map, Palantir of Orthonk, Mishra's Bauble, Aether Spellbomb, or even a Mindslaver if I want to be really mean. Let's cut some additional cards to make room for more includes. I think our AI friend was being a little bit greedy with includes such as Wildest Dreams, Seasons Past, and Praetor's Council. These are way too slow for us, and we should put our focus on more reliable sources of self-mill, reanimation, the things that support our strategy. In the same vein, Torrent Elemental, Jin-Gitaxias, and Noxious Gearhulk are just not going to make the final cut. We will, however, swap in Satyr Wayfinder, Stitcher's Supplier, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Ramunap Excavator, Underrealm Lich, and Braid's Arisen Nightmare. And now after some of those more major cuts, let's make some more small optimization plays. We're going to be cutting Ravenous Chupacabra for a Plague Crafter. Now, although we get the ability to target with the Prior, the Crafter is so much easier on our mana pips and allows us to reliably replay it. Also, as mentioned before, no more Krosan Grip, only Seal of Primordium. Why include Harrow when crop rotation can seek out our important lands, such as Field of the Dead? Phyrexian Arena, way too slow. Secrets of the Dead, on the other hand, has a much higher upside. And I'm not a big fan of Mystic Confluence. I would much rather play maybe Kaya's Ghost form to aid in the continued protection of our commander while also bringing down the total mana costs in our deck. And where are we now after all these changes? Well, down about $250 is where we are, and our deck is going to perform so much better with all of the new consistency includes. Now, this is the hard part of the video where we begin to look critically at the cards that are left. Are they really benefiting us? Are the instants and sorceries remaining in the deck the best ones? Should we really be running recursion for these in the first place? What's more, many of the remaining cards that we have left or haven't touched are just extremely expensive. Cyclonic Rift, Sylvan Library, Rhystic Study, Necropotence, Rise of the Dark Realms, and are they really necessary to run? I'm in the business of making an affordable deck here, and for that reason, I'm making the decision to cut most of the cards that I just mentioned. I will, however, be leaving in Rise of the Dark Realms because, well, this is a solid win condition, and we only really need to cast this one time to make a huge difference in our games. So what do we have to look forward to including? I want to ensure that we have a good balance of permanent types, so let's include some more enchantments. So we're going to go with Greater Good, Seal of Removal, Defense of the Heart, and Kenrith's Transformation. Additionally, although there is some clear utility, I think the payoff is rather low for Sultai Ascendancy, so we're going to be cutting this from the deck as well. And now that we've finished with all the enchantments, we can move on to the final cuts and also some of the final includes, which is going to be in the creature section. As mentioned before, having a low amount of instants and sorceries hurts some of the artificial intelligence includes. Cards such as Archaeomancer and Snapcaster Mage suddenly become quite awful when we only have about 10 instants and sorceries in the entire deck. For that reason, they're out. I would rather put in some bigger threats and some alternative ways for us to win the game. Cards such as Avenger of Zendikar, which will make a wide board that we can easily pump, or Lord of the Forsaken, which enables our graveyard plays and also is a prime target to cheat out of the graveyard. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love instant and sorcery recursion, but our commander is really focused on permanent recursion. And with a lackluster amount of instants and sorceries, I think we're just going to be missing more often than we're going to be hitting. And just like that, our deck is completed. The original version was clunky, with not enough consistency to reliably fill our yard. It also had very poor combo potential and had really low chance to have the bigger, extremely powerful turns we're sort of looking for. I think this should be a lesson that we don't really need the fanciest mana base, all the tutors, the strongest staple cards. Looking at you, Cyclonic Rift, because at the end of the day, we're left with a human-made deck that feels good to play and can have consistent games without the twinge of pain for shelling out over $700. Speaking of which, I was able to get the deck list down to about $400 per the Architect price. And after inputting all the cards into TCG Player, depending on the sellers, we can actually get the price for around $350. This is literally half the price of the original AI formulated deck. Maybe artificial intelligence isn't as competent as we first thought. at least when it comes to Magic the Gathering. Perhaps the human element of play experience does actually mean something. Either way, I hope that you enjoyed this first entry into my Humans versus AI series. Come back next week for another competition, another commander, and another deck well done. If you want to support me in what I'm doing with the channel, the best way is to subscribe. Your subscription goes a long way to ensuring the future health of this channel and also performance of the channel. This also means you get notified first upon new releases and can also get access to my custom deck list as soon as possible. I can't wait to see where this channel takes us. I've been Kyle, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.